Well, hello and welcome back to the Daily Brew, day 38 on the devotional, where every day we try a new brew of coffee and we see what God is brewing for us in the Bible. Yes, it's cheesy, but it's true. And today is day 38. You join me in Auckland, New Zealand, and I'm excited to be here with you for today. Our devotional scriptures are in our descriptions on every platform, so let's have a look at those together today. Psalm 18, 43 to 50, Matthew 25, 14 to 46, and Job 43 to 42, 17. So those are our scriptures in today's devotional. Let's, before we go any further, talk about brews. And today, I have named today's brew the Franz Joseph Redemption Round, okay? The espresso was good. Yesterday's Chemex was not good. So I have come to the household plunger, and I have done a plunger with the Franz Joseph. I'm just praying. I haven't tasted it yet. I'm praying to sweet baby Jesus that this coffee is good and it redeems it, because I feel bad. It had such a great start and I felt so bad yesterday. You probably felt that I was a bit awkward. I genuinely was surprised. I was expecting it to be really, really good. So today in the plunger, 30 grams of coffee, 500 grams of water. Let's see if I have managed to extract and redeem the Franz Joseph in the plunger today. Let's give it a go. Oh yeah, that's better. That's better. Please excuse the slurping. That's better. I think where the Franz Joseph really kicks in is in the low end taste. And what the plunger does, as we discussed the other day, it brings in that low end while filtering out the real heavy stuff. So it's got the light taste. It's got there is the lovely citrusy feeling. It's really nice. I enjoy it as a plunger, and I enjoy it the most as an espresso. So if you're going to have this, maybe not the best for a Chemex, but it's good for a plunger. It gives you a lovely coffee. But if you're looking for a good espresso bean, use the Franz Joseph Bean 5. And I think that's what it's called, Strength 5 whole bean in the green currently is the wrapping. It's good. As a plunger, like I said, brings in some more of the body of the taste and flavor. So loving that today. That's good. I feel like it hasn't redeemed itself fully, like to 100%, but it's definitely redeemed itself from yesterday. Let me go for a third. Yeah, look, it says start the day like a freight train. That's not a freight train. That's, if anything, what that is, that's a bullet train. Smooth, sharp, and fast. That's what it is. So there you go. As an espresso, really good. As a plunger, I put it in second, and then as a Chemex, it's basically just water at a Chemex. But that's okay. Not every coffee is going to be the best that it possibly can be. This one today, though, has redeemed itself. Enough of the brews, though. Let's get into the Bible. Also, if you're a barista, please let me know if I've done anything wrong on how I brewed that, okay? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's get into the Bible, though, for today. When I think of life's complexities and simplicities, I think the best demonstration that we've seen in the movie context is definitely the Lord of the Rings franchise. It's the best demonstration of life that I can think of. From an epic conquest to overcome evil, to wisdom from an old father figure, to the little of us making the biggest difference, to the faithfulness of Samwise Gamgee, to the epicness of Andy Serkis, the guy who plays Gollum. Seriously, okay, like if you haven't seen him doing stuff on YouTube, take a moment after this, YouTube him doing Gollum and all the other acting roles he's had. Genuinely, not sponsored by Andy Serkis to say this, but he's genuinely unreal. It's incredible. One of the things we see through Frodo's life is that life itself is worth living. It's worth preserving. It's worth protecting, and it's a privilege to be alive and to be human. I mean, he's not a human; he's a hobbit, but we can identify through the way that he lives as a representation of mankind that he's just unreal. Like, it's just life itself is a privilege. And inside that privilege is an opportunity. Because we're Christians, we have hope and a joy that we find in Christ alone. When we live committed to the hustle and the rat race, we find ourselves in patterns that don't bring joy, optimism, or a sense of life being a privilege. It's because of God's faithfulness to us that we can be encouraged to be faithful to Him. One of the mantras of New Zealand over the last few years has been this be kind, quote unquote, messaging. And that's great in theory. I love it. But when you look at the practicals of what a secular world defines as kindness, it can be quite different at times to the kingdom's definition of kindness. The truth is, God is always kind to us. In his faithfulness, he shows unfailing kindness. That's what David writes, that he has experienced unfailing kindness from God to himself, but also to his descendants. God has protected David and elevated David through every season. God's faithfulness to us is developed over time and is best displayed through hindsight. To be able to look back and see God's hand at work is a great encouragement and stirs hope for our future. And it's in the kindness that God shows us that should stir us to be kind to others. If we want to model God in our world, kingdom kindness is what we should model, straight from our Father in heaven. When we live that way, we're also living faithful to God. So how else can we be faithful? The first thing is to get going. God is a generous God. I've personally experienced God's blessing time and time again throughout my time of being in genuine relationship with him. In our parables today, we see Jesus speaking of a master who entrusts this gold to servants. Now, this can also be translated to be a talent. And in the Greek, this word is tal anton. Tal anton. It's probably not the correct pronunciation in the Greek, but you can forgive me. Which is this word is used in the Bible as the scale of balance, a pair of scales, a sum of money weighing a talent, and varying different states according to the changes in the laws regulating currency. So in Israel, a talent of gold would have weighed about 91 kg. In today's currency, this is crazy, brace yourself, but in today's currency, based off of the going weight for gold, this would be worth today, a talent would be worth $8,698,781.97 So the servant who got 5 talents, right? The servant who got 5 talents would have been entrusted with $43,493,909.08. Wowzers. Even for the guy who got 1 talent, you can see how this would have been a really apprehensive thing to decide what to do with that kind of money, that kind of entrustment. We can see that the master comes back though, and he's disappointed with the one who did nothing with what they were given. The master in our story is God, and we are the servants. While we may never see that kind of money come into our bank account, I mean, I'm praying for you if it does. Remember, your boy over here, just help us out. While we may never see that kind of money, we've been given something so much more. We've been entrusted with something so much greater than that kind of money. Can I tell you what it is? It's our lives. I believe that this parable is talking about the entrustment of our lives, the talent that we have, the gifts, the skills, time, energy, education, strength, and influence that we've been entrusted with in our daily lives. We've been entrusted with this life, and if we're going to be faithful to God, we need to make sure that we get going, that we take action in our everyday. The servant who did nothing said that he was afraid. I was afraid. We can get caught up with so many things. We can get caught up with what people have, what I don't have compared to them. We can get afraid of maybe stepping out or what others think, or maybe it's the hard work that's involved with doing what God has asked us to do, or maybe you're just afraid of making a mistake and God coming back and punishing you for not doing a good enough job. We have to be willing to get going. We have to be willing to take a risk, to obey God and step out in faith. My question for you is, what has God entrusted you with? To see a return on that entrustment, we have to obey God and take that step and enter into what God has for us. Why? Because if we don't, God will take the talent that he's entrusted to us and give it to someone else. I want to make this really clear. It's not about success. It's about obedience. That's actually the greatest success we could ever have in our life, is to live a life of obedience, to live a life of faith, and to live a life to say, God, here I am. I'll get going. We need to get going. So get going. In our final passages today, we see that we see Job's faithfulness to God. In fact, Job's faithfulness is something that we should take note of. The book of James references Job as a man of perseverance, as an example of how we should be. Job's faithfulness to God was personified by his perseverance. Perseverance is defined in the dictionary as persistence in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. In other words, he kept going. He kept going, holding on to the character of God, not just what God did or didn't do for him. That's what we need to do too. If we're going to persevere, we need to move away from loving God for what he does for us and start loving God and holding on to him for who he is. If our faithfulness to God hangs on what he does, then if he doesn't do something, we stop being faithful as a result. God is faithful because that is who he is. God doesn't give us a trouble-free life, and he doesn't even answer all our questions. But his faithfulness is proven by his character. He's always with us in our trouble. Job, he shows tremendous character by obeying God and praying for his friends who had let him down. If you've ever been hurt by someone, I want to encourage you that this is the best thing you can do for them. What it does is it shifts our internal position of our heart towards them. It blesses them through prayer. It also blesses us through prayer. And I encourage you to get to this place, to get to the place where you're able to pray for the people who have hurt you the most. There's so much in this book of Job, but look at God's faithfulness. Because Job never cursed him and he remained faithful to him, he was rewarded with twice as much as he had before. Faithfulness looks like continuing to worship the Lord despite the hard times here on earth, to remain faithful in every circumstance. Verse of the day. Yes, the super sneaky extra bonus verse at the end of our devotion. Let's have a look. Job 40, verse 4. It says, I am unworthy. How could I reply to you? I put my hand over my mouth. I love the book of Job. I don't know if you can tell, a lot of the verse of the days, a lot of the study in depth comes from the book of Job. It's a brilliant book, and we see a man here who is at the very end part of his journey. He's bruised. He's been beaten, but he's not broken. He stands before the Lord with awe, reverence, and wonder. I would have had some choice words for the Lord, I think, if I had ended up in Job's position. I would have asked him some pretty strong questions. But this position that he takes is a position of honor, and it reflects his love for God because of who God is, not just what he does. My question for you is, do you love God for who he is, or for the prospect of what he could do for you? That is it for the Daily Brew, day 38, done and dusted. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm praying for you that God is speaking to you through these verses. There is so much in these devotionals, and I'm trying to get succinct. I'm trying to get it to the core of what I'm trying to say in these devotionals. There's so much. I'd love to hear from you on the comment section in YouTube and also in the DMs on social media. Feel free to flick me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to also tag this and share it on all social media platforms with people who you think is going to really benefit from it. We're seeing an awesome amount of people doing this devotional journey. I'd love to see more and more people engage with the Word of God in this calendar year. So feel free to share it, tag me in it, I'll repost it as well. Hey, if this is the start of your day, have a great rest of your day. If not, sleep tight. Come back tomorrow for day 39. Looking forward to seeing you on the Daily Brew. See you soon.